let's talk about building your slab box. By now you should have 6, or I would actually think about making 7 leather hard slabs. See, they don't flop around anymore, but they're still dark in color, and when I put them on my cheek, they still feel a little bit damp, but they aren't squishy. They don't bend. Work on a piece of cardboard because that's going to allow you to move your box without it becoming distorted. You're going to use a toothpick or a needle tool or a fork or even an open paper clip, and you're going to score. Also, you'll need some thin coils. How thin? Well, they're thinner than a pencil. You're going to need some slip, and you will be needing a sponge. So I'm going to score down one side. I want you to pick the ugliest slab for the bottom. Now all your slabs must be the same size if you're doing this beveling technique. Now I'm going to pick another slab and I'm going to score. So once again, I can have my needle tool, I can have a toothpick, I can have an open paper clip, a little sharp piece, a little pokey piece of wire is fine. Now I've got both of these sides. Work on a piece of cardboard, grab some slip and fill the holes up, guys. Really important to fill the holes up. Okay, all the holes are filled up. Now I've got this here. Line it up. Now I can score this. Or this, or this. Add a little more slip. No holes. Now I'm going to take a little piece of coil and I'm going to use my popsicle stick, or I can use a wooden smoothing tool, or I can even use the back of my finger. And I'm going to tuck that coil in there. I'm going to cut off the end. Goodbye, little end. Goodbye, little other end. And I'm going to put my hand back here so it doesn't fall over. I can smooth it using a tool or my hands. Okay. Take a sponge and some water. Make sure the sponge is almost empty. And make it really smooth. Press it together. Now you can use a ceramic rib, or you can use your credit card or laundry card, an old grocery card, anything like that. Make sure it's clean. Okay, and you can really smooth it. Okay, just smooth, smooth, smooth. Okay, anytime you want something smooth, this or your card. All right, so the operation I just did here, I'm going to repeat on the next side. I'm going to grab another slab. Use your hand to support it so it doesn't flop over. Okay. Fill in all the holes with your slip. All the holes with your slip. There you go. Nice. All right. Now I got to, anywhere the clay is going to touch, I need to score. I've got to score here too. Okay, so I'm going to score this one. A little bit of slip. Filling in all the holes. Okay. Okay, all the holes. Okay, wet slip goes to wet slip. There we go. Press it together, guys. Give it a good press. Now some little score marks here in the corners. I'm probably going fast, but that's because I've done this a lot of times. You guys can take your time. It's not a race. Now let's just scoop some slip right on into those gaps. Make sure you got all your holes covered. The longer your slip sits around, the less lumps it has in it. So it's always nice to have a batch of slip that's been sitting around for a while. Nice wet coil. The coil is very wet and plastic. All right. Now I'm going to just push that coil into the corner. Popsicle stick's great for this. Or if you've got the wooden smoothing tool with your kit, that's fine too. Once again, back of the finger or popsicle stick or wooden smoothing tool. Use your hand behind so the thing doesn't collapse. My hand is back here so it doesn't fall. Okay, here we go. Okay. Now you guys count, craftsmanship is going to count for your grade on this. So try not to make a mess. Always have your little damp sponge following up behind you. Don't try to sponge at the very end because it'll be too late. Sponge as you go. Sponge as you go. Taking care of little ugly spots. Okay. There we go. There, making it nice and clean and professional. I'm going to keep adding sides. All right, through the magic of TV. Okay guys, make the inside of the box pretty because you're going to see that later. When people open up your box, when you open up your box, you're going to see in that inside. And if it looks all ugly because you didn't wipe it down with a sponge or you didn't smooth it, it's going to be disappointing. So we want it to look great. Take your time. I'm doing this in fast TV time. You're going to do it and take your time. I want you guys to have a nice project. Take your time. The best projects happen when someone's just zoning out, relaxing, listening to some music, or watching their little favorite TV show in the corner of their eye. Something like that. Relaxing, in the zone. That's when a good project happens. Okay. So don't get in a hurry. Okay, I've got this on cardboard. The inside looks really good, nice and smooth. Yours should look really smooth too, because people are gonna open it up, and you are too, and you want it to look nice. All right, now we're gonna do the top. Seal the top shut and do not cut a lid. Let me reiterate that. Make the inside real pretty. Seal the top shut And do not cut out a lid. Cutting the lid happens last. The reason we don't cut our lid until last is that this is a sealed cube of air. Once the lid is on there, it helps the box puff out because there's air in there, and it won't collapse as easily. So we're gonna seal this like a perfect cube sealed shut. And one of the last things we're gonna do is cut a lid at the very end. That way it stays strong and puffed out. Nice slip. Now try not to make a mess and get slip all over the inside of the pot on this last pass. Okay, so try to make it tidy. Fill in all the holes. It's really important. Those holes will blow up later, so you have to fill in all these holes. They'll just cause you problems. They're just bad. So we fill in all the holes. There we go, pretty good. Okay, a lot of slip. Whee, all right. The reason we started with the ugliest slab for the bottom is because you can't really see the bottom. So if you have a slab that's a little on the ugly side, no worries. Now I can't do the coil here, can I? I really can't, and that's okay, because I've done it everywhere else. Now I'm going to start with my scraper or my grocery card or an old ID or something. Okay, and I'm going to scrape up gently. Now guys, take some time doing this. I guarantee I'm going to be able to know by looking at these who took time on this step and who did not. Because the person who takes time on this step has a really nice looking box. It looks really precise. All right. This cleans it up so nicely. Now when you get a bunch of goo on your scraper, just get rid of it. Put it off to the side. This is fun. You go around, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, cleaning your tool. If you have a little air gap, here I've got a little air gap, I could always put a little slip in there. That's okay. And I can also take turns between going around with your sponge and going around with your scraper, or called a rib, actually. Sponge, rib, sponge, rib, sponge, rib. Back and forth until it's really smooth. I think you'll enjoy it. It's really nice. If your water gets muddy, throw it in the trash can, okay? Don't throw muddy water down your sink drain. Okay, we talked about that. We don't want to wreck anybody's plumbing. Notice there's no holes in this. It's totally sealed shut. It's holding the air inside. Later we'll cut a lid off at the very end, and that will let the air come out, but not yet. Okay, let's talk about how to put this thing away. You can take all your extra stuff and make it into slip. It's always handy. All right. Notice it's on a cardboard box or board, so you can move it without wrecking. Now we're going to do something different. Last night you used the dry newspaper, and it pulled the water out of your slabs, and it made your slabs leather hard. Right now we have leather hard slabs. We don't want them to get too dry. We're going to do something very different now. We're going to take newspaper or paper towels and we're going to dip it in water and squeeze it out. Ask yourself, is this so wet? Is this so wet that it's dripping water everywhere, or is it not dripping? You're right, it's not dripping. We do not want it to be dripping. We just want it wet. You can use newspapers, paper towels, junk mail, an old cloth. Newspaper's really good. I'm going to wrap it all the way around gently. This is how I'm going to put it to bed. What's going to happen is this little bit of lightly wet paper is going to keep that leather hard clay from turning into bone dry, from getting so dry you can't work with it. Okay. Now cut your little piece of board small, because your piece of board is going to want to fit into a bag. All right. I should have cut mine more. I'll bend it up a little bit. There we go. Okay, guys. Seal this shut. We want to trap the moisture in. Okay, so you need to seal it shut. I'm going to lightly tie it so I can untie it tomorrow. Lightly. That is sealing the moisture inside. Okay, we're going to keep doing this while we're working on it. And on the last day, when we're done working on it, we'll open it a little bit so it dries slowly. So this is how this little guy's going to go to bed.